Hi there, friends. So happy you've joined us inside this weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. In today's show, government is improving water storage using underground recharge systems. Healthwise looks at preventing mosquito breeding sites and related diseases. Also, how to grow the foods we need. Stick around for these and more interesting features packed for your enlightenment.
If you are experiencing symptoms of the monkeypox virus, including fever, intense headache, swelling of the lymph nodes, back pain, muscle ache, lack of energy, and/or a rash on the skin, you must self-isolate immediately and call ahead to your health center or doctor before visiting. The virus may enter the body through broken skin, even if not visible, the respiratory tract, or mucous membranes, eyes, nose, or mouth, and has an incubation period of between 5 and 21 days. The spread of monkeypox may occur when a person comes into close contact with an infected animal, direct contact with monkeypox skin lesions or scabs of an infected person, contact with clothing or linen such as bedding or towels used by an infected person, and the coughing or sneezing of an individual with a monkeypox rash. Wear a mask, frequently wash hands, and practice physical distancing as part of the infection prevention and control efforts. For additional information on monkeypox, visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness website at moh.gov.jm or contact the local public health department.
Water is important for us to function properly and conduct daily activities such as washing, cooking, and cleaning. It's essential for the smooth operation of businesses in the areas of farming, construction, manufacturing, and others. As we turn the pages of Jamaica Magazine this weekend, we are looking at how the government is safeguarding water storage using underground wells. Jamaica is known for its tropical climate, which brings warm weather. While showers are possible all year round, the land is not free from periods of drought. January to March and July are classified as the dry seasons, with February being the driest month, on average producing just about 15 millimeters of rain, or roughly 3 rainy days, and so the need for artificial recharge systems. An artificial recharge system is used to store excess water for use later, like periods of drought. The water stored in these wells can be put to environmental, agricultural, and urban uses. In order to serve the well-polluted communities in St. Catherine and the Kingston metropolitan area, government constructed the Innswood Artificial Recharge System.
Water is critical, and it is a part of the agenda of the government that we provide these resources to improve the quality of life.
The St. Catherine-based facility is funded by the Inter-American Development Bank at a cost of $1.07 billion. Situated on 68 acres of land, it is the largest artificial aquifer recharge system in Central America and the Caribbean. It diverts approximately 5 million gallons of water per day from the Rio Cobra River through the National Irrigation Commission NIC Canal during the wet season.
The question of water is critical, whether it is water for domestic or agricultural purpose. This is a facility that is providing the resources in terms of water that is badly needed in this part of St. Catherine to deal with the agricultural side of the parish.
The construction of this station involves a raw water intake structure, as well as inlet structures for 2 infiltration wells, 3 sinkholes, and 2.1 kilometers of pipelines. The facility treats the raw water from the Old Harbour branch of the NIC Canal through a series of settling basins that remove sediments, pollutants, and other particles. This will ensure that the water is of good quality. These wells need to be recharged to ensure easy access to potable water.
You might see the water going away and going through the system, but it is being stored because it's going into the aquifer itself. This is a limestone aquifer, so it is very easy for that operation to take place actually, because the nature of the limestone, the cracks and the fissures is such that the injection of the water into the aquifer is guaranteed.
Having seen the successful implementation of the Innswood Underground Water Recharge System, government is examining the feasibility of replicating it in Manchester and St. Elizabeth.
Touring this facility, looking at the tremendous output that has been laid down at this facility. And this is something I will engage the technical people in a discussion on, to see how best we can replicate this in other parishes where there is a severe need for this commodity, especially in parishes such as Manchester and St. Elizabeth, where, you know, that section of the island accounts for a significant portion of what goes to the market that is placed on the tables of the homes across the country.
Water is a primary commodity in the development process. It is critical to production and the quality of life.
We have the capacity to provide water, but it has to be done in a regulated and in a structured way.
That is why we have a system like this in place to help to give that guarantee of the delivery of the resource.
The National Census is an opportunity to help develop your community and create a brighter future for your family. The information gathered from the census is used to make important decisions about where to put facilities like clinics, stores, and new roads. So be seen and be counted for your family's future. Census Day is September 12th. Look out for the National Census takers in your community and let them know you count.
$234 Jamaicans have lost their lives in motor vehicle collisions in the first half of this year. Life is precious. Don't be a statistic. Drive with care.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
The rainy weather has been more than favorable in recent times, particularly to farming communities. But the continuous swell of water catchment it produces serves as fertile breeding sites for mosquitoes and the health risk they pose. Next, we share tips from the Ministry of Health and Wellness on how to get rid of mosquito breeding sites.
Mosquitoes are undoubtedly annoying, with their irritating sound and stinging bites. But there are more compelling reasons we'd rather not have them around. Several species are carriers of diseases and a threat to human health. Of most significance to Jamaica is the Aedes aegypti mosquito, known to transmit dengue fever, chikungunya, yellow fever, and the Zika virus. Only female mosquitoes bite, doing so to get the blood they need for egg production. And therefore, only female mosquitoes transmit these viruses.
The Aedes aegypti mosquito is what we call a timid feeder. So she's easily disturbed when feeding. It means that in one night, she may feed on several persons before she takes her complete blood meal. Each time she feeds, she secretes that substance. And in the secretion of the substance, the pathogen is passed on. So in one night, one female Aedes aegypti mosquito is able to infect more than one person.
The female Aedes aegypti mosquito is a prolific breeder.
One female Aedes aegypti mosquito is able to lay up to 200 eggs each time she lays her eggs. So one mosquito can populate an entire area.
The lifespan of the mosquito is around 3 weeks, and the entire cycle from egg to adult can occur in as little as 7 to 8 days. Female mosquitoes are ready to mate within a few hours after reaching their adult stage, and males are usually ready within 24 hours.
This mosquito prefers cleaner waters for the female mosquitoes. she will lay her eggs in water. And for the Aedes, it will be water which is in and around the household.
So while there are a number of things we can and should do to prevent being bitten, the most effective way to prevent the spread of diseases by these mosquitoes is to prevent their breeding.
The Aedes aegypti mosquito is a mosquito that breeds in a containerized environment. They do not breed in rivers and drains, but they breed in containers that can be found in and around where persons dwell. So come with us and let us show you some of those breeding sites. This is a typical dish drainer that we find in most homes. And under most dish drainer is a tray that collects the water that comes off the dishes. And believe it or not, we have found breeding in several homes in these dish drainers. Yes. You can see that we have water that has settled. If this water does not evaporate quickly, it can lend itself to the breeding of the Aedes aegypti mosquito. So you not only have to empty the dish drainer, but you have to scrub to remove those eggs. This is the typical saucer that we will find under a plant. The rain has recently fallen, it has collected water, and right now it is steaming with the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Do you have some of these in your home? Aedes aegypti prefers water that is a little bit on the cleaner side, and it's found in a shaded environment. So what should we do with something like this? It's quite simple. You need to throw away the water. And if these containers are not being used, you have to keep them turned down so they're not able to collect water. If you have them under your plants, we ask that you bore holes in them so that it will not collect water. Do you have these in your homes? We find these in a lot of hotels and business places, and we ask those persons, check these bird baths or any ornamental things like these you have in your garden to ensure that they are not breeding the Aedes aegypti mosquito. There are things like this thrown down in person's backyard. Old equipment, old furniture, old fixtures that are taken from homes, especially during construction. These are also able to hold water. And if they're holding water and sit for a while in the environment, they will also breed mosquitoes. And so we have found breeding in wheelbarrows, in old refrigerator, in old sinks such as this one. And we ask persons, if you're throwing out these, please ensure that they are positioned in such a way that they will not collect water.
Many persons, when they do have their drums, most times drums do not have any covers. So there is a mesh cover which is so designed to replace the missing covers. It is lightweight, and what we do is just simply slip it over, and the mesh is so designed mosquitoes will not be able to go through this mesh to get to the water. So this is the ideal way. One of the benefits also of this mesh is that even when rain does fall, water will go right through it. This is a typical example where this we have is a plastic drum and we have a metal cover here which is not designed for this. Whilst in some practice the intent is good, there may be occasions in which it does not fit or sit properly, and as a result you still have openings where mosquitoes can go right through and breed.
The mosquito is breeding right there in some very small places right around where you live. What is the habit we want you to develop? Once every week, search for and destroy the breeding sites of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Lowering the sodium content in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in their life, especially for those who are overweight. Shake the salt habit, shop smart and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking. Try using fresh herbs and seasonings to add more flavor. Limit the consumption of salty snacks. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to identify those high in salt and choose the healthier options. Remember, no more than 2 grams of salt per day from all food sources for children under 11 years of age.
of the DRF in violence prevention in our society is to mediate. We believe that mediation is really a very good thing in terms of resolving disputes at the court level, at the parish court level, and at the Supreme Court level. Now, let me tell you about some of the matters that may come at the parish court levels. You and I live in a tenement yard and a fight. We report the matter to the police, it goes to court. The judge may say, well, you know, you are just probably a teenager, go to mediation and see if you can get a settlement. Because if you can agree, then you won't have a criminal record. We urge everyone, all our offices, come to our offices, no matter how simple the matter may be, come to us. We have persons who are trained.
National food security is an essential economic priority for Jamaica, and we can all support this effort through the campaign to eat what we grow and grow what we eat. To learn more, pay attention to our next feature.
Farming is a way of life, especially here in Jamaica. Today, an increasing number of young people are getting involved.
Back then, persons used to look down on agriculture based on the stigma that agriculture is for a particular group of persons. But I am proud to say that that stigma has been reduced significantly. So no longer is agriculture a last option. It's a primary option where persons are now interested in pursuing even studies at the master's level in agriculture.
Getting started in agriculture can be tricky, so there are a number of things new farmers need to be aware of.
For young persons who would like to get involved in agriculture, the first thing I would say to them, they have to first assess their interest. Agriculture is a very wide industry with different sectors, and so they first need to look at, do I have an interest in crop production or animal production?
Crop production is the process of growing produce for domestic and commercial purposes, whereas animal production is the technology applied to keeping animals for profit. You know, feeding, rearing, and breeding. That's just the basics. So for the next few minutes, we'll learn more about getting started in crop production.
We at RADA, and the field staff particularly, when we are engaged about young persons getting into farming, when they approach us, one of the main things we want to emphasize is about training. A lot of persons who want to venture into agriculture, and they see it as something that they can get into without getting that technical knowledge, because it's easy to go and get the land, prepare and sow the seeds and all of that. But there's a lot of other issues you have to consider. You have to consider the pest and the disease control. As you say, you have to look at the weather condition, you have to look at the type of crop. Different crop require different environmental conditions. Two major things we also emphasize to new entrant farmers is we look at the markets. Don't just jump into production without thinking about your market. I know it's sort of tempting for a lot of persons when prices are high and it look very nice, and you can get a lot of income, but that's not always the case. Because by the time you put in that crop, the price is usually, and the crop come in, the price is usually low. So we look at the market. And another thing, we look at the cost of production. A lot of new entrant farmers, they want to get into production without looking at what it costs to produce a crop. That is very important, because that is how you can determine if you are able to make a profit based on how you estimate your costs and your market price and all of that. So we emphasize the cost of production. So those are some of the things we emphasize to new entrant farmers.
So there are different options such as agro-processing that young persons can venture. So you don't have to be looking at agriculture as going in the sun, sweating. You can still do that practice. That's the traditional practice. But there are some contemporary practices that involves technology, such as hydroponics and aquaponics. And so young persons can look at that option as well.
So don't picture a farmer as this person in dirty clothes, this person riding a donkey. Some of the farmers know they are driving the biggest vehicle you can think of, and they live in the best household that you can think of. Another thing that you need to do is to partner with RADA, in particularly the Agri linkages, to help you seek possible markets before you venture into the field of agriculture. And what you can also do is to do a SWOT analysis. When I say a SWOT analysis, once you identify your interest, you're going to be now looking at your strengths, assess the strengths, you're going to assess the weaknesses and how you can overcome them. You're going to look at the opportunities that exist, and you're now going to be looking at the threats. So one of your threats could be your, I wouldn't say competitor, because in agriculture, I don't want to give the impression that we are competing. We're all in this thing together. But there are some threats such as disaster. How can you bounce back, or how can you mitigate certain effects? So a SWOT analysis is very important when you're looking at agriculture as a young person.
With all that information in mind, get started with your research. Start farming, as you can help to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business by growing what we eat so we can eat what we grow.
I want to get rid of that stigma that is attached to agriculture. And I want persons to understand that if we don't have farmers, we won't have any people. So where there's no food, the people will perish. So look at agriculture as a business and not as a traditional, disregarded occupation. It's a very lucrative, very vibrant occupation that you should all think of.
Crime and violence is infecting our youth. We must work together to rescue them from the gangs, engage them in productive activities, and safeguard Jamaica's future.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
All you would-be farmers, don't wait. Utilize the tips we just outlined. They are free to use, but the rewards will richly bless you. Of course, you don't have to be a farmer to produce the food you need. Even if, like me, you are living in an urban area with little land to spare, there are ways to plant and reap just what you need to eat.
Urban gardening is the cultivation of vegetables, fruits, aromatic plants, and herbs in an enclosed space or your backyard. It's an ideal way for those with little space to participate in the process of food production, saving money while feeding themselves. Practical application is one of the best methods of imparting new knowledge. The Jamaica 4-H Clubs ran with that concept when it set up an urban garden display project at 123 Duke Street in downtown Kingston.
This project was born out of the COVID pandemic, where we recognize that food production has to become everybody's business. Traditionally, most of our food in Jamaica is cultivated in rural areas. We believe that even if you are in a dormitory community without land space, we believe that there's still an opportunity for you to produce. In this urban model, you would realize that we are demonstrating how you can do air planting, how you can do planting on your fence line, how you can produce food in different medium. And so we are utilizing a fully integrated approach from collecting your own water, by generating your own nutrient within the urban garden model setting to be able to produce the food that you will eat.
There are a few vital things that plants need to grow. These include sunlight, proper temperature, moisture, air, and nutrients.
One of the basic pieces of technology inside our urban model garden is to demonstrate rainwater harvesting. From your roof, you're collecting your water, not only your roof, but just anywhere there's a runoff, because it could be a runoff underground. And what you want to do is to be able to have some storage capacity.
In the 4-H urban garden, the water is stored underground to ensure there is more available space on the surface. Of course, your environment will determine the most effective setup for your system.
One of the good things about Jamaica, other than when we have night, we always have sunlight. There are some plants that requires a lot more lighting than others. And so one of the things we demonstrate or we share with urban gardeners is where you put what. So there are some plants that you can do indoors. There are some plants that will strive and do better if they were to be grown outdoor, whether you're using container, you're using your fencing, you're using backyard, front yard, or your rooftop. Another feature that is demonstrated here is composting. To my right is our composting area, and we have a roto-composting bin, as well as we have a regular bin. And in fact, just about all the vegetative matter and the waste from the birds and the animals across there are in fact all placed into our composters, and that is broken down to provide organic matter. Because again, you know, your soil needs that for aeration, it needs it to add humus, and that's what is going to allow your plants to grow well.
And all this can be done in your own space. Livestock is another avenue you can choose in your urban gardening. Rabbit rearing is an excellent source of protein, and it doesn't require much space. You can also use the plants in the garden to feed them. Other animals can be included, such as chicken and fish.
We do a lot of different birds here. You can do your ornamental fish, you can do your tilapia, you know. And you can also do your domestic hens. Because that's something we are also promoting, is to get back to those domestic hens for eggs and meat. There are many things you can do in terms of livestock. It's almost as diverse as you're going for crops.
To replicate this model in your urban space, speak with your Jamaica 4-H Club's parish officer. You can receive seeds and other planting material to get you started.
One of the biggest threats right now in the world is not war or COVID, is really to have a sustainable supply of food. And the view is that no longer can we only rely on the traditional food producer. I think food production has to become everybody's business. And I think the extent to which we are able to get all our people to produce some of what you will consume, I think is one of the greatest steps we can take in looking at the phenomenon of food sustainability.
A strategy the Jamaica 4-H Society has started to aid in maintaining sustainable food within communities. And if you haven't begun the process in your space yet, you can start now.
We are now at our final stop inside Jamaica Magazine for today. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another show. Until then, there's more to watch by visiting our website, jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Matron Atkins, and do take care and walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.